Hey everybody, welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Marty.
I'm Roger Latewood.
Hey, Tommy J here down in Southern California.
Our special guest today is our friend Ray. And Ray has some interesting stories about his use of medical marijuana to help his lifestyle. And who knows what else we might get out to him. Ray, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Give me 1 second here. I just wanted to say, so we originally were going to have Wayne Justman on the line, and we tried for an hour and a half to try and get his microphone and stuff to work and everything on his laptop, and it just would not work. We could not get it to work, so try as we might, we could not get it. So Roger was kind enough to find us another a really awesome guest for this evening. So we will get Wayne on the show here in the next week, upcoming week here. It's just last minute technical problems. So.
Well,
All right, go ahead,
while you're on that, would you like to tell us about other potential future guests we're all excited about?
Oh yeah, so we're gonna have a weekend. We're thinking we're probably gonna do a weekend show. When we do the Jorge Cervantes will be on the show soon. And again, he's in Spain, so we're probably going to do a really early episode. It'll probably be like 9 a.m. Pacific or 12 p.m. Eastern, something like that on a Saturday. Or maybe even 8 a.m. We're going to figure it out.
That's late for me. That's when I usually go to bed, so I'll be able to hang for that.
Yeah, so that'll be good. Again, just because of the whack time zones. Our normal start time is 3:30 a.m. His time, so we can't join us on our normal time.
We have to go to Cannabis next year.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We have to do one of them startup things. Get everybody to give us money to go to Cannabis and make videos. All right, Ray. Well, you done, Steve?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, well,
So Ray, you have the floor, my friend.
I guess most of these guys don't know me, and I'm from British Columbia, Canada, which you'll probably get enough chuckles as is, because I know how everybody feels about Canadians.
They're really polite.
Yeah, that you're polite and have relatively good weed.
Thing I love about Canadians is they
Relatively.
get to the point 'cause it's cold.
They pay $20 a gram? Wait, what? What's the problem?
Yeah.
Okay, Ray, there's a tendency for us all to cut up, so don't be offended. I know you won't be, but yeah, we've already hit it. We're all in rare form tonight. We're ready to go. So.
Oh, I'm assuming you guys are. You usually start a little earlier, so I was surprised to get the call tonight.
Well, you're on the West Coast with them. I'm on the East Coast. You guys are always bitching about it being late, and here I am. It's like, I'm so late. I got to eat and do this. It's like 9:30 in California. It's 12:30 here, and they're but you're over there with them or a little farther. But yeah, why don't you tell us about how you and your wife met and everything? It was such a cool story the other night that's what I said. Yeah, you'd be the perfect, surprise guest if we needed one, and so here you are. So,
I'm a surprise guest, that's for sure. No, I grew up on Vancouver Island originally, and I decided to move further north. So I actually live in central BC or north central BC, pretty much dead in the center of BC, halfway between Alaska and Seattle, kind of thing. Well, it's a nice balmy 7 Fahrenheit outside tonight. Yeah, it just finished snowing for the last 2 days. Yeah, I know. I'm converting. The missus is telling me it's minus 25. I'm going, no, I'm converting to Fahrenheit for you.
This is very considerate.
Thank you, because Americans can't do that.
Otherwise, Roger would have had to Google it. It would have been a whole thing.
We don't have that kind of brain.
Oh, I'm sure you guys can figure it out, but it's so much easier just to say it, right?
Whenever I need that answer, I call a Canadian.
We appreciate it.
There you go. Sporting already, guys. I moved up north because I had chronic back problems to start with. At about 21, I was basically told I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I'm in my 30s after I screwed up my lower spine. So I moved to a cold, dry climate as opposed to a hot, dry climate. My whole life I've been around growing. It's my dad's grown my whole life, so I've seen it my whole life. I'm basically in a family of growers, as weird as it may seem. Both me, my dad, and my uncle all grow. We're all located in different places throughout BC, of course. Yeah. Of course, the missus has to pipe in and say, yeah, I smoke myself allergic. But we're working on that because I've got some nice bubble gum that she's going to be trying when I get that out of the press, but we'll see.
So tell us about what it's like to grow up in Canada. We haven't really had a guest talk about growing up in the Canadian market.
Well, we're pretty much all out indoors up north where I am, right? Because well, even during our summer temperatures, it still drops to the 50s at night easily. Yeah.
Plus, I'm sure you have limited light as well that hits at such an angle too that even if you did have temperatures, it would be a very short growing season, or I guess very long growing season, depending on what kind of plants you were planting. If you could plant really early where you had really long days, because
Yeah.
you have really, really long days and really short days, right? It's like a big swing.
No, we're not quite that far north, but our temperature zone, I mean, last year I had my outside garden, which is just plants and veggies, but we still had ice and snow coming in late May, and early April. So it's gives you a rough idea how cold it is outside, and by September, I mean by the end of September here, I'm looking at minus 10 Celsius, so 30s, 40s. It's just too cold to grow outdoors. You get such a short season, you're either auto flower or nothing, right?
Right.
And I grow kind of weird myself in that I built a shed and my entire grow space is heated by my lights. There's no supplemental heat, no nothing. Everything is heated by my lights. I'm still a very classic HID grower. I keep looking at LEDs, but for me, they just won't work yet. They don't produce enough heat.
And that was the biggest thing with Ray, is why he doesn't do LEDs, is because he needs the heat that's generated from the HID in that cold environment.
Consider ceramic metal halide.
I actually grow with LECs, so I grow with ceramic metal halides. That's what I do.
There you go.
You got the heat and you got the temperatures you're looking for. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And I mean, when I woke up this morning and it was minus 1 Fahrenheit, and I walk into my shed and go to my plants and they're sitting comfortably at 72 Fahrenheit, then I'm a happy camper. It's pretty much. I grow perpetual, so I run a three light rotation. My plants and veg are basically mothers. Any of my mothers are as they progress in age and get to a certain point, I'll clone off them and either save a clone and restart as a new mother, or I'll flower out and hydro using my clones. But no, I love growing. I don't know what it is about it. It's peaceful. It's relaxing. It's what I love to do. It's definitely, yeah. The missus says it's a hobby for me. I don't know. I spend more money on it than I'd ever make from it. So.
So how
Right?
does it affect your health? You were mentioning some stuff about your personal relationship with the plant. I mean, I know that's an awesome relationship with the plant growing it. I haven't had a garden in a while, but I missed that side of it. But yeah. what was it you were alluding to earlier with your body and the plant?
I had chronic sciatica. I still get fits of it. My lower spine is actually fusing and has been for years. So if I don't stay active and moving, I tend not to be able to stay active and move. So for me, it's something that keeps me away from using pharmaceuticals and drugs in general. It's a much easier way to go about things. I mean, after it's pretty much as soon as I left the coast, all the moist air, I was almost functional again, and off all the pharmaceuticals that, of course, doctors love to prescribe, and they love to tell you that, hey, you should just give up and apply for disability and sit on your ass for the rest of your life. And to me, I just never saw the appeal to that.
Yeah. I ain't done living till they throw dirt on my face.
Yeah,
Well, I want to say something. I don't want to spill any beans, but Ray's a hard-working son of a bitch. He works there every freaking day when it's warming up, and they got a contract to work. He works his ass off, so he's not just on disability or something either. He's in a very vigorous and hard, tedious job. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
I mean, I roof for a living. That's what I do. I roof for a living, and I work in construction. My job isn't mild on the body. It's hard on the body. Most people we bring in don't make it past the third day. What can I say? My whole crew smokes weed. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, my boss buys off me. So it's kind of ironic how that works, but at the same point in time, it's a pretty laid back and comfortable environment. But he's in no better shape than I am. He doesn't move until he's smoked a few in the day.
Yeah, I found the anti-inflammatory and the analgesic effects that you get from different strains of cannabis really help your body get to moving. They don't always deal with the pain.
Yeah.
But you at least feel like getting off the goddamn couch.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, you learn how to cope with the pain, but at the same point in time, it's to loosen up and be able to move and convince yourself you can move.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't always about killing the pain and numbing the pain. It's
getting back in the game. Getting back in the game.
It's taking the edge off so that you're willing to do it, and that's the part a lot of people miss. I believe we had a guy on our forum today, as Roger mentioned. I work with him on ILGM there. We had a guy on the forum the other day that said the same thing. I like weed, but I don't smoke it. And he wants to learn how to grow. He doesn't smoke weed. He wants something that doesn't get him high and doesn't get him heady. And it's the same thing. He's looking more for the medical aspects of it. And I think that's where everything's going to allude to in the end, is less about getting high and more about making a person function, being able to function, feeling sharp in the head or feeling sharp in the body without feeling dumb in the mind. In essence, I don't know.
I don't need to be too stoned and to get stupider.
Well, some people do. They get you. Yeah, that's my boss's excuse whenever he forgets anything. Yeah.
What you want to say, Marty?
Oh, I was just saying that there's so many, it's a little bit, I feel like so many people generalize when you talk to people that don't smoke a lot or at all. And they're like, weed makes me feel this. And I'm like, oh, well, wait, that's like the one time you smoked in high school? Like brickweed from Mexico? Or are we talking sativa, indica, gassy, is it lemony? There's 2,000 registered strains now or some shit like that, and more all the time. So I just feel like
exactly it gets typecast.
So
I tried alcohol once.
Well, part of the other thing is too is that people smoke it or ingest it however they do, whether they vaporize it or they smoke it first or make a concentrate or a coconut oil or whatever they do, a bubble hash. They, in the end, they have to realize that you are going to feel different. It's a new experience. You're not on Vicodin. You're now ingesting cannabis or cannabinoids and THC and CBDs. You're not, it's not going to make you feel like every day. If you take it and give it a chance, you will see, and you're open-minded, you'll see relief from the pain. And then you'll be able to control it in your own time and your own acceptance of the medications and what's available from a cannabis plant, and it's not just a one directional thing.
Right. And for me, like, the delivery became important as well, not just like the strain, but also how I was consuming it. So I stopped combusting pretty much altogether. Like, every once in a while I'll smoke a joint. I have a little bubbler but I'll keep it really clean. And the reason is because I personally have issues with mold. If there's mold in the house, like, I'll start sneezing just like over and over and over again. My record is 26, by the way, like back to back to back to back to back to back. And it's not fun. Trust me, by the time you hit like 15, you just want to be done.
Yeah.
You can't breathe.
Yeah, like, you're like, I'm just going to slam my head against the wall until I pass out because it'd be more fun than sneezing again. And that's pretty much like 15 through 26. But so, like, I have severe mold allergies. So what I have to do, like, if I am smoking out of a normal bong, like I would normally be combusting, now I use a vaporizer and am able to use that. And I don't get any plant material in here. So it doesn't start molding. And in case you're wondering, inside of about 20 to 40 hours, somewhere in there, it's going to start. If you get even just a little bit of green plant material down in there, and your temperature is, say, like room temperature around 65 to 75 degrees, it's going to start forming the basis of mold that quick. So I was having severe lung issues, like congestion, coughing, wheezing, like just all kinds of different problems. And of course, the doctor told me I was allergic to weed. That was his solution to it. And
have you thought about putting peroxide in your bong? Because the oxygen wouldn't hurt you.
Right. So yeah, and you can definitely do that if you're still doing it. But I don't have any issues vaporizing. Like, all of that has gone away with that. So I don't really combust anymore. And if I do combust, I just make sure it's really clean in that. And so I feel like there's a wide variety of different things that come with how you smoke and what you're using it for. Because I have lower back issues myself, is one of the reasons, in shoulder issues. As a motorcycle accident, and this shoulder here, it just always has issues. And then my lower back on the other side. And so making a topical cream, a lotion out of with coconut oil, and distilled cannabis oil, and what else we put in there? Some wax, I think. There's a few different things we put in there. I'd have to look it up, but so I make a big batch of it, and it lasts me quite a while. And I find that helps with my muscle pain more than even just smoking, other than the temporary relief. I would say, like, just vaporizing might take me from like an 8 to a 5. But if I use the lotion relatively religiously, I can get it down to like a 3 or even a 2. And so not only different strains, but also how you consume it can make a difference, whether you're experiencing negative issues like I was with my lungs, or if you're just looking for more relief than you're already getting. You can switch it up, like Tommy's decarboxylation. Can't talk. But if you go through that and you learn how to make some good topical lotion and are able to put that on, that can do it. Tinctures are amazing, which are basically like drops you can put under your tongue. And Steve and Tommy, I feel like they have this powder now, this sublingual powder that you can basically use similar to a tincture. And I find this to be really good for controlling pain because it's for an edible or a tincture or whatever you want to call it, a non-inhalant. I don't know how to classify this. Maybe Tommy can help there, but
What's an edible?
We just call it easy dose powder.
It's a medible.
well, I wouldn't call it an edible because you don't want to swallow it. It absorbs better,
It's a medible.
Under the tongue.
right? Right, Tommy? Doesn't
Yeah,
it absorb better in your mouth than digest it?
It's an extra process. We take a very highly bioavailable oil and we do an extra process to let you absorb it sublingually.
Right.
So what you really want to do is put it under your tongue and let it stay there for 2 to 3 minutes. I know that's crazy sounding, but you do that, you're a happy camper.
Right. And it does get dry, so I recommend that you drink something first, so that it doesn't dry out. But I do find that's a great delivery method as well, and it doesn't last as long either. So if you're looking for something to use, like even while you're at work, I think this would be great because you have no smell, there's no, you don't need to bring a piece with you. There's no, and you can go to the bathroom, put some under your tongue, walk around, whatever you need to do. I feel like there's a level of convenience, especially with consumption being illegal still, even in legal states. You still can't do it in public at all. So, I took one when I went to see Star Wars. That's where I took the other last packet I had was when I went to see Star Wars. So I could pop that right before the movie rolled.
How was
that?
that?
That was great. I won't give any spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it. Don't worry. But
Good.
the powder was good. Spoiler. There you go.
I see we have some more company.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a David Brain Grow.
Yep.
And Hog is back too.
That's well. That's yeah.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
What's up, Brain?
Hey, Brain Grow.
So Raymond, have you tried experimenting with anything besides like combusting or any of that?
Good idea.
I actually just purchased a closed loop extraction system at the start of the month, so I've been making my own shatter lately, which is
Well, that's cool.
which is vaping, right? And
Yes.
of course you end up with waxes and byproducts too, but the byproducts are still good for edibles and everything else. So it's not, I'm not losing anything. I actually get a higher return because of the fact that all my shake and everything else is used in the process. It's different than just making straight BHO and that I recover because I'm gassing. I basically autoclaving my gas to extract the gas under a vacuum. So I'm recovering almost 95 to in the high 90s% of the butane from it, rather than it having a really chemical taste to it. And then I'm using good refined butane, not buying cheap 7-Eleven brand crap that they got behind the counters for your lighters, of course.
Are you redistilling it?
Please don't get me started, please.
Yeah.
Are you redistilling it before you use it the first time?
Yes, actually, I did that the first time around so that I could run it through and get rid of the mystery oil in the bottom of the cans.
He knows.
Thank you.
He knows.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, Tommy. Yeah, this ain't about you tonight, Tommy. Just calm down there, buddy.
For
I
anyone who
do
doesn't,
torch one for a living.
So glad I don't have to
I
kill
work with
this
propane
man.
all the time. I work with propane all the time, so I expect oils and waxes and all sorts of other stuff in any gas I buy. It doesn't matter what it is.
I don't care if it's medical. You redistill it yourself.
Yeah.
Excellent, sir. Thank you. 100% respect.
Yep, just to recap though, for anyone that is doing any distilling or any kind of extraction at home, always redistill your solvents before using them the first time, even twice, to make sure you get all those mystery oils out, because you'd be surprised what kind of weird crap is in it.
Yeah.
It adds weight to your final yield, but it's not the kind of weight you want.
Nope.
Not healthy.
It's that foul stuff that they put in it so that that you can smell it in the air is what it is.
No, there's more to it than that. In the process of getting the chemicals through all the equipment into the containers that you can buy it, honest to God, it requires lubrication.
Yes.
But when you get it in the lab,
you
have to understand that you clean the lubrication out, and then you have your true product to work with.
Yeah.
Cool. So how about that? Gave Tommy something to get all excited about. We've done a couple of podcasts where everybody. We've done podcasts where Tommy was and Dorian were all very explanatory about the fact of what butane does and how to almost like make your own butane and like redistilling it and all. So
Yeah,
it was good that came up tonight. That's a perfect thing to readdress and it stretches the show a little too. Just let Tommy get on a rant.
Safety information is always good to reiterate to the people.
Yep. Excellent. Yep.
Yes, that's right. Don't do any of that crap indoors.
There's a lot of really bad press about some of the solvents that are used. I have my own objections to them based on what they're pulling out of the plant. I'm looking for something different.
Yeah.
But that's just like wine snob stuff. I'm not going to go off into that. But treated properly, they can be very effective solvents working with cannabis or any number of different plant materials that you're experimenting with. It's just, if you're going to do this stuff, slow down, really read, really research, do it right, do it respectfully, especially, and this is, I think, where everybody on this show is above and beyond dedicated to, especially if you're talking about somebody's medicine. If it's somebody who's huffing those nitrous oxide things in paper bags down by the 7-Eleven, and they just want to hit or whatever shit they can get out of you, it's a different thing. But a lot of us deal with people's medicine, and that's a whole different level of respect and self-respect. And that's, I think, the point that's made here, and what we all care about is, yes, you can work with those things, but really step up, clean your solvents, put it in real stainless steel. Don't use the cheap ass tanks, when you're transferring things. Slow down. It's okay to take 12 hours for something you can do in 4 if it means that you're not going to poison your end medical
Make it pure.
Little things like that, be good humans. And so, I got all excited. Yes, Roger, I do get uppity about this.
No, I love it. No, I knew you were
here's a brand new person to the show, and they've already understood that and dedicated themselves to that. I get really excited when I hear that.
Well, it's fairly easy for me. I mean, all my clients are people I work with or family. So
Perfect.
It's really simple on that point.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
It's not, I don't look for strangers to give anything to. So to me, if my uncle wants something off me, well.
But one thing you missed there, Tommy, that I'm real big about is we always want to make sure we tell everybody up front, don't blow your ass up with this shit. See, because you can blow your ass up if you try to use solvents. You better read up, like Tommy said, read. And I used to post things with big yellow banners with X's going, warning, don't blow your ass up.
And we also, Roger, we also always offer the recipes, full 100% disclosure, how to do this safely in coconut oil that actually we defy people for medicine users.
Well,
we defy people
I agree.
for a better recipe, and there is nothing safer that any of us knows.
I agree with the coconut oil because now that I got to sample a little bit of it, and it wasn't done to the perfection of the recipe you've got that you told us about, but it worked so well at the, you know, like I say, an 80% proficiency level of the process.
It's a very forgiving
I'll
process.
tell you what, I dipped my finger in a baby oil jar and licked my finger off twice, and I've mellowed out. So that's all you got to say about it right there.
Point you make there, Roger, because if somebody does the coconut oil recipe we talk about here wrong, it, like you're saying, at 80%,
it still works.
It's still damn skippy good. Yeah, it's still damn skippy good.
It works to a percentage of what the actual perfect recipe is.
You can't fail. You can't fail, and you can't blow up.
So, I don't know if Ray, have you seen that? Have you watched the show, or do you know?
I think you and I have talked about it at some point in time too. I mean, I've had lots of calls with Roger in the past, so it's. I don't know the rest of the characters around here, but I've watched a few of the episodes, and I work so much during the summer, I don't get time to catch up on all this stuff. I'm usually pretty much off the bed by 9 o'clock, which is, you know, another hour and a half from now. Yes, I'm on the West Coast, so that's usually about the time I'm off to crash. I see Hogmaster's here with us here.
He's sharing a little parchment paper pictures with us.
Yeah, I'm doing a little rosin pressing.
So I would be Donald J if anybody was curious.
There you go. Yeah. So Ray is Donald J on our forum, and he's been helping us out for quite a while. We made him a moderator a while back because he was basically moderating the forum as a member, and is very knowledgeable, has a long history that, you know, I'm not at liberty to discuss.
An alleged history.
He's got an alleged history.
Yeah, well, it's not too alleged. It's documented somewhere. I'm sure of it.
I've really been trying to talk him into sharing it, but it might make somebody mad. See,
it doesn't always need to be repeated in polite circles.
Yeah. Well, the username on ILGM is kind of a joke because I tease my dad all the time. So of course I'd use his name, right?
Oh, now he's gonna get mad. I thought he's gonna get mad at you now, boy. Well, I tell you what.
He wouldn't go anywhere near internet. He's so old school. It's funny the way that he thinks. But
oh, so that's what that's all about. See, I get it, guys. You know, he's ready to have to elaborate. So.
Yeah, and he's been pinched enough that I wouldn't see him on a computer to do anything, honestly. So, and yes, there is a confusion. Canada is not legal. We are a less than legal country.
Yeah, but they tolerate it a lot in Quebec and BC.
Oh, they tolerate it, but they still like to knock on your door.
Hey, can I mail stuff all over your country?
Oh, you could probably mail stuff all over my country, but sooner or later they catch on to it. And then they'll tax you for it.
Wait. I thought it was like perfectly tits up to do that there.
Oh, not quite. Not quite.
I got to talk to somebody.
Not till July.
Oh, and it don't matter. I mean, they're talking about tax and everything beyond the gills. I mean, the prices will go insane as soon as they start playing their game. So.
Yeah.
Didn't you say
Europe and Canada, if I was asked to come up there and be involved in a distribution operation, supposedly with the blessing of the state, would you say thumbs up or thumbs down to something like that?
I'd say thumbs up because it's going to be a government paycheck. At least they pay. So, yeah. But
There is something to be said for socialism.
yeah, and
I gotta say, I agree with that statement.
oh, and honestly, it's going to be a joke. I mean, they're already looking for ways to push it and re-legislate, because we're it's kind of like the states where you have different states with different laws. Well, we have different provinces with different laws, and the federal government, rather than down in the states where it is the federal government tying everything up for you guys, it's the federal government saying yeah, and all the provinces going, well, how the hell are we supposed to do this? And the federal government says, we don't care. We just want 10% of everything sold.
That's right.
We don't care how you do it.
You know what? If they would legalize
Figure it out.
I would give 10% of everything I make if you would allow everybody to have health care. When they go to the doctor, they get treated and they don't cost them anything. I'd give 10% of everything.
It's already like that here, though.
Decision right there.
It's already like that here. I mean, I can walk to one of 4 drop-in centers downtown to see a doctor anytime I want for nothing. No bills, no nothing. The only things we pay for are, I think I pay $75 a month because I make enough money for healthcare. Yeah, well, the missus is giving me crap because she pays that. Bill division, gotta love that. But that's the top end. That is the most you pay. That's not if you were poverty income, you don't pay anything. You don't pay
even
for
that,
help.
like, if that's the most you pay, that's crazy. Because like, even still here, that's like not even a quarter of what I pay right now, for just my wife and kids.
Yeah, and you have
That'll
options.
get you a doctor's visit here.
Yeah, you have.
Oh yeah,
options.
and I still have to pay. Yeah, I have a huge deductible. I think it's $5,000 a year, and I have co-pays. So even if I get a certain number of co-pays, I think, something like that.
Can I just point out the asshole GOP defunded CHIP, Children's Health Insurance Program?
Well, yeah.
This is what I always argue about too. I got so many friends that really surprised me being a musician. It really, in a farmer. It really surprised me. In a carpenter, because everybody gets high, but it surprised me that they're all conservative Republicans. They don't want to give out a dime for anything to anybody, and they're saying, oh, if everybody got health care, that I'd be paying for it. But you're paying for it through these astronomical insurance payments.
Yep.
No,
Get rid of that.
I pay for it in my taxes. I mean, we pay for everything in our taxes, but it's
exactly. Just pay it in the fucking taxes.
You don't
but
you don't pay out your ass for anything as far as medical is concerned. You pay for your prescriptions, and you only pay for your prescriptions if they deem you can afford them. And that's, if I went into a hospital to get a prescription, the hospital pays for it. I don't.
Is that an asinine scale like we see sometimes here, where they say, well, you make minimum wage, but you still got to come up with this much money, where you go, well, I can't feed myself? Or is it actually something that's, somewhat reasonable?
Well, it's reasonable. It's basically, if I'm making, let's say I make myself probably about 60,000 a year that I clear, if that, and the missus makes another 30 or 40. So between the two of us, it's not like we're in poverty. Now, if I made under 25,000, I don't pay anything, nothing for any kind of medical. It doesn't matter what it is.
That sounds fair.
And because of what I do make, I can afford to pay for a chunk of my medical, and I do it because somebody else can't afford to, so I may as well offset the cost somewhat.
But that's just in your taxes, right? It's not like, you're suddenly paying.
The more I make, the more taxes.
You make enough money to pay some taxes, but somebody that just can afford to live all year will get medical help.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're in the poverty line below $25,000 a year, and that's considered our poverty line, then you don't pay anything in taxes. You get all of your taxes back. It's the same thing because I own my home. I pay for school maintenance. I pay for all these other wonderful little taxes that go with owning a home. I pay for
land, right?
Yeah, exactly. All of those things come across as the same thing. But I mean, as far as the government dipping in and wanting their share on everything, they're actually working the opposite. Their philosophy is we eliminate the black market by jumping in onto the market and saying, yeah, we'll make it legal. However, by them doing so, they actually are forcing the prices of everything up and increasing the black market because people that have been competing to try and sell an ounce for $125 are now going, shit, they got to pay $300 at the store. Why don't I charge them $200? And they're supporting a black market for it. And honestly, I don't care because it's at that point it was the black market for it was a reason a lot of people got into it in the first place, and just to have their own meds and not have to pay outrageous fees and pay to some asshole you don't know. That's
right. Or what know what he put on it. More important.
That's right because I mean I grew up on the coast and I saw a lot of the biker gangs and how they grew, and it was the same concept. All they wanted was mass production. They didn't care, just that they got lots of buds. I don't care how it grows. I can sell it no matter what it looks like. So it's way different. People are with legalization. Yeah, people will get fussier, but everybody thinks, oh yeah, that means everybody will be able to grow. Well, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be you have to own your home. You are allowed 0 to 4 plants. That is what they have legally said. 0 to 4 plants. If you own your own home, if your insurance agency agrees to it, if this, if that, and they haven't even gone through all of the details yet. And our government is literally going, the only people that are going to be allowed to grow are government companies. That's the only way it's going to be done. So and we already have some major corporations that have done that. It's the same with seed sales. Up until this year, I could walk down to any glass shop or hemp shop in town, and we have 10 or 12 of them, and buy seeds over the counter. They were just classed as novelty marijuana seeds. Oh, but they're feminized, they're autoflower, and they're specific to genes. But these are novelty seeds meant to be, and the label would say, meant as a novelty, just to own. Well, I don't know about you, but if I'm going to the store to buy feminized autoflowers, I'm not buying them because I want them hanging on my wall as a collection. But the government turned a blind eye until this year, where they pushed legislation. They have it where it's all now all these places that used to sell it are not selling it, and they're hiding it under the counters and going only to people I've dealt with before. It's ridiculous how much they want to get their fingers in everything, and every province is different. That's the part that there'll be real friendly provinces. BC will be a friendly province. That's a given because we have all the Sunshine Coast. We have all Vancouver Island and the Sunshine Coast, which will gladly grow outdoors all summer, every year. And I mean, I'm sure some of you guys have heard of Tuxedo Thunderfuck and some of the good old classic strains that came out of BC. We used to grow awesome weed outside. So all that'll change with government legislation. It won't be, hey, it'll be, yeah, you can grow outside if you have an 8-foot fence with a compound and 10 security cameras watching everything and a guard dog on duty. And it'll be just like, I know some of the states are pretty tight on their legislation. And honestly, I don't care if the government gave me a license to or not. It's, I've been through enough. I've had my door kicked in a couple of times throughout my life. It's not a big deal. They come, they steal my gear, they give me a fine, they get lost, and the process starts again. I do my day in court, on with my life. Not a big deal. And that's, to me, I don't feel I'm doing anything wrong. To me, I feel I'm growing a plant. What the hell could be wrong with growing a plant? Really that simple. What can I say? Our government is kind of, they want in. They want the money that they've seen from it. They want the money that they think is there, and in all their actions, they're gonna
for years and years. I mean, that's, if you did that here in the States, there's well, maybe not every state, but there's a number of different states that you know, like, especially if it happened more than one time, you know, you could do some serious time.
Oh, if I was one province over in Alberta, I'd do 5 years for them kicking in my door once.
Right.
So that's no different.
But see, in Vancouver, you basically could walk down the street and smoke weed. In fact, it's funny. I had to be away for a second, and I did, and Ray was being so eloquent about the situation. But well, lest we forget Mark Emery, who,
Yes.
you know, the you know, so the king of pot, and or, you know, whatever they call him, you know, and you know, when he got busted, they were smoking joints out the street, watching the freaking U.S. invade Canada to bust him and bring him back to the U.S. and imprison him for 5 to 8 years. I was involved with the Grow Report, and we were in personal contact. In fact, I've tweeted, whatever, with Mark Emery's wife, you know, before, and friends that were trying to, because he was, yeah, really, and in fact. He was in jail for a while in Alabama, in Georgia. They kept moving him around. And I was actually contacted, because I'm in the Southeast, about where they could go. They had, like, I guess maybe some kind of I don't know if he got a weekend off or because she was visiting at the time and spending extended time in different areas in the South. And in the South, I was asked about a place where she could go and, you know, like, have a good time and get decent food and watch maybe some live music in Savannah, Georgia. You know, that's just one of those folklore things, believe it or not. But, you know, I probably could seek it way back if the Twitter still has all that shit. But yeah, I've got friends that knew them. And, but it's funny you said that, because like you said, the government wants to take over everything. Well, see, Mark Emery had to, you know, everybody, you know, he did all what he did, and everybody, Vancouver. I got friends, another friend in Vancouver, I'm not going to mention. You know, I got another friend allegedly in Vancouver, I'm not going to mention, that had a couple of different forums, and eventually wrote a little book, and now has his own seed shop in Vancouver. So like Ray was saying, you know, it's getting more limited. Now, I don't know. It sounds like they're even getting more strict. I'm not sure. Well, let Ray elaborate on that in a second. But I do know that it was wide open at one point. And it's funny because you could stand out in the street and smoke weed and nobody gave a shit. And then because Mark Emery sent seeds to the U.S., okay, well, that is a no-no under the, you know, I mean, you're taking a risk there. It was just, you know, interesting that Canada gave in, but that was probably having to do with where's my camera? With dinero or something.
No,
like
had to do with the fact that Harper was a piece of shit. Basically, Canadian version of Bush.
You're echoing, Steve.
Yep, that would be
sorry about
exactly
the
what that
echo.
was.
Oh, the shithead Jeff Sessions, you know.
No. The shithead, what's his name? Stephen Harper.
Yeah.
Harper is basically George Bush of Canada.
Yeah.
And he was, because he was an American ambassador before he was ever a Canadian premier. So that was, but at this
diplomatic bullshit
time, I mean, it was accepted to smoke downtown in Vancouver. It was accepted to do this, and it was accepted to do that. And I mean, I can elaborate on a story that just happened to me last week. I actually gave my uncle a £1/4. He drove from one town to the next, got pulled over for a speeding ticket. The cop told him outright, anything under $1/4 and I'll let you go. And of course it was, well, there's a quarter pound. So here I am 3 days later driving 500 miles to drop off another quarter pound for him and come back. And that's exactly it. Some of them are tolerant, and some of them are old-fashioned and want to write a story about it and bring it home to the office. But they don't care if it's small. They don't care. If all you got on you is a quarter ounce or a couple of grams, they don't care. They won't bother.
You said quarter. I thought you meant quarter pound.
That's what he had on him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They can be a little more tolerant because
Yeah.
even a quarter pound is more paperwork than it's worth, really.
Well, and that's
Depends
the
what
way.
state you're in.
Yeah, and that's what my uncle's just kind of laughing at it, going, "Oh, whatever." He left me all my roaches and shit. They impounded my vehicle and searched my vehicle, and he left all the roaches there for me. So it's not like he left them high and dry.
Yeah, that's what they do. Like where my brother still lives and where I used to live, and down in Humboldt County, California, your biggest fear with cops is getting pulled over with either not enough or shitty weed.
Yeah,
Like, you don't have any good stuff for them to confiscate and have a little share of. Like, you'll get busted for some shake. They'll be like 3 pounds. It's like a trash bag full of trim.
Hey, I still got bets on whether he's going to show him both containers when he shows up in court.
Oh no, yeah.
The cops going to show up with, oh, well, he had 2 ounces.
Yeah, well, here's what happens in Humboldt. Like, you get pulled over, let's say you got that quarter pound.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh, well, we're gonna confiscate half of this quarter pound here and leave you on your way. And we won't report it, do you this favor, and then throw it in the trunk with the rest of their confiscated weed that they'll."
Oh no, but I mean, they're going to be even worse than that. Once they've already, the government's already going, okay, now we're going to have roadside this and roadside that for anybody. If you smoked within 24 hours, you are not allowed behind the wheel. They are going to the extreme on everything with what they're going to do once it's legal. It's, oh yeah, well, if we suspect you've been smoking, we're impounding your vehicle. Everything is a cash grab for them. It's not. They're not approving it. There was already people roaming around there's already people in Canada that do have medical licenses and are allowed to smoke. They shut down something like 40 different dispensaries in Ontario right after they announced they were going to legalize it. Say, hey, we're going to replace these with our liquor board stores. You're no longer a medical dispensary. You're going to be selling stuff through the liquor board store. That's it. Your storage done. There's no more legal sales of medical marijuana. It is all through the government. That is the only way they are getting it. It is,
They're selling it through the drugstores too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're talking about that. London Drugs and a few of the other big companies are trying to get in there and looking to hire people, of course, for consultants and all that.
Of course.
Of course. However, I'm not qualified.
I've been approached by 3 of them.
Yeah. Hey, London Drugs would be a good one. They are big and they're in every town. So they're not exactly going to be stingy on what they do. My scenario is I have a record, therefore I will never be allowed to legally grow.
Right. That's something.
And that's what they'll play off of, right? It doesn't matter whether it's been 5-6 years since I've had any attention. It's still, I will never legally be allowed to grow. And yeah, there's the missus. So
you can have your 0 to 4 plants, right?
I probably won't even be allowed that, but do you think that's going to stop me?
Well, I was just wondering, though, do you have any ideas about how you're going to maximize that situation?
Well, if anybody here is on the forum,
share something, I think you have an idea, but
yeah,
your idea. So
yeah. Well, if anybody's paying attention on the forum, I'm actually working on grafting, and this is a plant limit thing. Now, if if I could graft 6 strains to one plant, I still technically have one plant. Now, that means instead of me having to keep 6 mothers on hand, I now have 1 mother plant and 3 plants. But I have 6 strains on that one plant. So right now I'm experimenting with it, trying to get grafts to take, because it's not something I've ever done, of course. But
Brilliant.
it definitely holds.
Who knows? Good work.
And I mean, this benefits a lot of the people in the States too. In that, I know a lot of places you guys have a plant limit now, and if they're talking 0 to 4 in Canada, then I'm going, yeah, okay, this will benefit me because my missus doesn't have a record, and she can grow them. It's not a big deal to me. Just because she doesn't tend to them or deal with them or touch them or do anything with them.
You like being beholden to this woman, don't you?
Pardon?
You like being beholden to this woman, don't you?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, she sounds awesome.
Yeah. Oh, she's a hoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a hard person to live with because I get pretty when I get sore I get pretty cranky and growly, so yeah. And I'm pretty set in my ways too. I make up my mind what I'm doing and I do it. It just, you know, gets me into trouble, but you know,
as long as you keep your stick on the ice, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Hey, see, there's
give and take, right?
Yeah.
So earlier we were talking about that Tommy had a coconut oil recipe. You want to touch on that recipe again, Tommy, for maybe those that are just joining us, and for our Canadian friend here?
Oh, sure. I'll go over that real quick if you want me to.
And I'll help.
This recipe is based on no matter who you are, where you are, no matter how expensive your source material is, and we understand in some unfortunate locations you pay exorbitant prices for your source material. This recipe is based on you have your source material. What is the most medicine? And this is really geared towards somebody like me or somebody like Ray here who are dealing with some pretty significant medical issues. You know, I've got 7 missing discs. Roger, you know, they scooped out half his brain. I don't know what he is. He's pointing to something there. I think he needs a little more Thorazine, but that's another show. So you have your source material. What the goal of this extraction method is, how can I get the most usable molecules out of that pound I have or ounce I have, whatever it is, into my body? And so I'm a true medical user. This is what started me before I got it off into all the other kind of extraction stuff. This is still, honest to God, even though I work doing other stuff, this is my favorite. You take your source material, you would want to decarboxylate it. And that's if it's a THC based. If it's a CBD based, you do not in any way need to do this decarboxylation process. But if you're have a particular strain you're working with that you want to get the most THC effect out of it in an edible form, before you get into your body, you're not smoking it, so you want to go through a chemical process to smoke it for you. And this is great because you don't have to put it in your lungs. You're going to love this, and it's freaking easy. You take the your source material, your source cannabis. I like quart mason jars, and I fill them basically right up to the top, not packed in there, not super loose, but you know, just it's in there. I'll fill up a mason jar. You put the rubber side of the lid down, screw it on there. It's going to go into your oven for around 200 degrees to 212, and you're going to want it in there about 45 minutes, and that will decarboxylate most strains. If you're really looking for the couch lock, okay, you might want to leave it in there up to another 35% as much time. If you really, really want that couch locky kind of stuff, maybe somebody's dealing with bone pain or something like that. So now, once you take it out of the oven, when it's done, you just turn the oven off. The next day, you can go get the jars. What's happened is you have decarboxylated your cannabis in a sealed container, and the entire neighborhood does not even get it. That's too cheap. That means the terpenes, the very light molecules that you smell when you're normally decarboxylating, have been maintained in the jar, and if you've let them sit overnight, those terpenes have reabsorbed into the sponge-like material of the plant. So
it has to go dry, cool 100%.
Yeah, you let it totally cool in there.
100%.
You let it sit the next day, and that lets the terpenes reabsorb into the plant material. So now all you have to do is you open the jar and you pour coconut oil in it. You seal that jar back up. You can put it in a water bath. Oh, you can also do that decarboxylation in a water bath. That's about the same temperature range. If that's a little easier for you, you don't want to fuss with the oven, you can put it in a big pot in a water bath at around the same temperatures, around boiling temperature, 212-ish or so. 200, 212 is a real great temperature.
Didn't we kind of decide, Tommy, that it was like you boil it for an hour in the sous vide, you know, the water bath? You boil it for an hour and then proceed and then let it cool down 100% or overnight, because there's no rush. Sorry to inject, but I think it helps some people.
Yeah, just a little aside on the science of the chemistry of it and maintaining temperatures. Your sous vide method, which is basically you have a water bath that has a temperature being maintained in it, is an easier way to control temperature range than an oven. Any standard oven in your house, when you start cranking it down to these temperatures, that oven ain't that good at keeping these temperatures. You're going to find an easier time doing a sous vide, but you're looking at about $100 piece of equipment. And Roger can turn you onto those pieces of equipment. He found a really great piece and actually was being highlighted by Hogmaster earlier in the show while we were offline.
Actually, Hogmaster found it. Hogmaster found it.
Mm-hmm. So once you have your decarboxylated material, you've opened the top of the container, you've poured in like a nice organic coconut oil. I could go into an entire other thing about what you use. Please just trust me. For 8 different major reasons you want to use coconut oil. It's just great all around. You can do so much with it after it. It's a perfect base, and especially if you're dealing with a sick person, this is an oil you're going to be able to get into their body in a very easy fashion. So you have your jar, you put your coconut oil in, you put your top back on it, and now you go into your sous vide around temperatures around 200, 212, somewhere in there, or in your oven. I'm now looking at a 5-day soak. This just sits in there, and every day it gets better. So at the end of that 5-day soak, I'm going to drain the oil out of there. I'm going to squeeze it a bit. I use fat filters in these big filters you get at the restaurant supply store, so I can squeeze it all out and everything. Then I will refill the jar with the material, and I'll put an equal amount again of the coconut oil in there. I go 3 more days to get that last trailing, because coconut oil does not take up as much of the molecules like a butane or a propane or an ethanol or an isopropyl. It doesn't take it up like that. This is a gentler infuse. As long as it's gentler infuse, you're going to get an unbelievable medical benefit from this thing. There's one last piece, and it's paramount. At the end, when you have all your oils, you're going to mix in a liquid sunflower lecithin.
Yeah.
You're going to mix it in, let's say you had a cup of oil. You're going to mix in a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of the lecithin, and you can really blend it in there. And that lecithin is really going to help grab the resins and get them into your body on a level of efficiency that if you haven't tried this yet, you've never experienced it. Let me just put it there. Run the experiment. I guarantee you're going to love it. Absolutely guarantee it. Or your money back.
One thing I wanted to mention, I think you misspoke, or you really kind of omitted it, was when you start the cooking process for 5 days, the temperature that the sous vide needs to be set at is 118 degrees.
Oh, did I?
Not
Was I
boiling.
200? Yes. It's the lower temperature, right?
Yeah, not 200, not like boiling. When you decarboxylate, you use
I
200.
am so sorry.
Boiling.
Thanks, Roger.
When you
Thanks,
cook,
Roger.
do the 5 day process, after you fill up the vessel with the coconut oil, you do it at 118 degrees for 5 days. And this is why the sous vide appears to $100. Are you kidding me? To have what you'd have? I mean, because you never have to buy it again, really. I mean, maybe you would, but it's a pot and water in this digital sous vide for $100. And then you set it at 118 degrees for 5 days, less electricity than running your freaking oven at 180, because you can't get it any cooler, and the proper.
Everything sealed. You get every molecule you pay for in that pound or in that ounce. Everything you pay for is in that oil. Things you don't.
Coconut oil makes the molecules. It's all about like the molecules. This is what Tommy taught me. I like to brag about. I learned something from him. It's about it. So when he describes it, I go, "Wait a minute, you told me this." See, it's about absorbing the molecules. The coconut oil makes the molecules available. The cannabis oil. Go on, my brother. Go on.
It's both things. It's a combination. The coconut oil acts as what we would call a carrier. It helps separate the molecules into a liquid, because they're tarry, tight little resin things. So the coconut oil is a carrier. It's also a saturated fat that does not behave like one in the body, which is perfect. It's polar. And then the lecithin helps wrap the molecules, the different terpenes, the CBDs, the THCs. It wraps those, and it makes it so that when it goes in your body looks at it not like THC, which is good for it. It looks at it like food, and it goes, "Oh, we love that shit." And it goes out and it grabs this lecithin that it loves, and on the tail end of that lecithin are all the things we wanted out of the marijuana. The same tricks they use in the pharmaceutical industry.
And that lecithin is about $15 to $20 on Amazon. And I went to look for my jar of it, and I can't bottle of it, and I can't find it. So I was going to show, because I got the one Tommy has, and it's an organic.
You can do it in half ounce batches.
Hey, Tommy, I had a question. So I actually have a jar of powdered sunflower lecithin, and that's what I use. Do you think that would be just as good to use as the liquid version?
Absolutely not. I've tried 6 different powdered lecithins, and
because it's sunflower seed oil.
They just don't. I don't know why. I wish I could tell you why. They just don't hold up like the liquid lecithin.
I think it's because, again, the lecithin is carried by the sunflower seed oil, because that's what that is that you're saying to get. And
I would imagine this would be across the board from whatever source you would get a lecithin from. I just find that the consistency of the sunflower seed one, it's really stable. It lasts a good long time. I like that one. But I think there's something with it still being in that viscous format that helps it attract or wrap or whatever. I've tried dissolving different powdered lecithins into the carrier oil. I can get that done, and then when I wind up introducing the oils out of the extract from the cannabis, I'll get a funky waxing up. And it's just not the same. Where with the liquid lecithin, I don't care who you are, you can do it. You can do it with a fucking spoon. You don't even need $1,000 stirring stick. You can do it with a spoon.
So it just bonds better in the mixture when you.
I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know the exact reason why, but even if I had big equipment to put in the bowl, if I had the big equipment, I would put the big equipment in the bowl with the liquid lecithin because it would just work that much better.
Can you explain why that fancy rod is fancy?
Oh, it's kind of crazy thing. So, think about your blender in the kitchen, okay? And then somebody got real fancy and they put the blender on a stick, and then you can put the stick in the cup and make milkshakes and everything with it. You know those blender sticks, right?
Right.
So now take your router motor. Think about the speed that your 6 horsepower router spins at, what 50,000 minimum RPM. That thing, like if you hit your finger in it, would not rip your finger off. It would literally spray your finger off the bits moving so fast. So you take that motor and you put it on a little blender like that, except you make the blender really, really small inside of a stick, like just a little bit thicker, like about the size actually of a milkshake straw. If you go to like Dairy Queen or whatever, you get one of those good straws that you milkshake with a little spoon on the end, those thick ones. So you put a router engine on a spinning blade inside of a stainless steel tube that now has, start imagining a screw that works kind of like a turbine. Like a turbine will take so much air mass, and in one stage it will compress it down, and then the next turbine will compress it down and compress it down into your jet engine. That's how it makes those things run. So yeah, there are some toys you can mix your extractions up with that work exactly like that. Now, not everybody has one of those because they're like $1,000 to start out. You know, who the fuck's gonna do that? I would, but you know, other people like no reason for it whatsoever. But like what we're talking about with Roger with this with liquid lecithin is you can do it with a fork, you can do it with your blender at home, your mixer at home. Anything you have at home is going to make it that much better. But
They make
a thing that's really going to get those molecules in your body.
They make a stirring propeller. You can go to Home Depot and buy. There's a little propeller on the end of a stick that's about 12 to 16 inches long. You can put it in a drill. There's the bottle of sunflower liquid lecithin right there. But you can take one of those, go down to the paint section and buy some of those little propellers to mix paint with, and you could put that on a drill cord. It's all about foaming, like making it, like he said, making a milkshake. And that was just to tie that back in for you guys, because sometimes we jump around. Thank God that we all talked about this enough. We catch each other up. What happens is after you infuse the cannabis for 8 days with the rest period and the day between where you strained out the first oil and then put the matter back in and filled it back up with more oil and then cooked it at another 3 days at 118, and then you cool it down, you add the lecithin, then you blend the crap out of it. The super,
yeah, but
like
none of the plant material. None of the plant material.
No,
all
the plant material's out, right?
Yeah.
You strain all that, but you take the oil, you add the lecithin, and that's when you put this, what we're talking about, blending the crap out of it. So, yeah, sorry, just wanted to tie that together because, you know, some people are going, well, where did we get to blending shit?
I got one thing to say. I just put everybody through an arduous thing. Let me tell you the reason you do this. You do this with a CBD-rich plant, okay? You make the same exact recipe with a very heavy CBD-rich plant like an ACDC, and you rub your woman down with this, she will give you her checkbook. It is the most incredible monkey body butter you have ever experienced. I'm missing 7 discs in my spine, and my sweetheart will rub my back down with the CBD version of this oil. Shut up. Period. End of story. Just done. That is like, thank you, sweetheart. And yeah, this is so. Get a hold of some good CBD stuff, or maybe a Harlequin, or Steve knows a bunch of good recipes. Oh golly, I'm sure Roger knows a bunch of good strains. But you get a CBD heavy version of this. You make the same kind of oil on it. You have bad things in your feet. Oh, I'll tell you one. Has anybody ever went to adjust the blanket in the bed with their toe and you get that Charlie horse that you have to stand up and start doing a rain dance over it?
Yep.
You know that thing? You can take this oil, a CBD heavy oil, exactly like I'm telling you about.
Yeah. Yeah.
You rub it on your leg.
Yep.
You can go back to bed with absolutely zero fear that that Charlie horse will come back. And not only that, when you rub it on your leg within 2 minutes, you can actually get back in bed. You don't have to do the entire rain dance. It's good working shit, dude.
Yep. I've seen it. Yeah, we were at an event. I forget which event, Vegas, and Tommy woke up in the middle of the night with a Charlie horse in his leg, and
Oh, I was
man, put
crying.
that cream on it in like a minute. Within like a minute or two of that being on there, man, it just nuked it.
It was so bad, Steve didn't know if I was having a heart attack or something.
Yeah, I was concerned.
Well, see, in Amy, my Amy, she hates my guts, but I gave her something to rub on her foot, which has been broken for 40 years and always killing her. And she's always working hard and like can't think straight because her foot hurts, and had her rubbing it. What's again, I can't, I'm going to say this every time we bring it up. This stuff is topically applicable and really works that way, like it's described here. And if you want to eat some, you can eat some. You can make edibles out of it, or you might be able to, develop some crazy powder. Who knows, but it's incredible stuff. It really, like everybody here on the panel are from different places in the country and the world. And everybody that's tried it's going, wow. And here, I'll give it back to Tommy on this note. Segue back. It's not anything new, really. It's just good minds came together and said, let's take this and apply it.
This is before the internet, dude. This is the way this is one of the ways we've been dealing with cannabis for the last thousands of years. Thousands. And so there's something to be said for very simple processes. If you honestly believe it's a really good plant and it has something good for you, don't fuck with it. Don't put hydrocarbons to it or whatever, especially if you're dealing with medicine. Let's take it easy. How radical is coconut oil? Not very. You're sick. I'm going to give you hydrocarbons. I'm going to give you propane. I'm going to give you I want you to heat it to 700 degrees and breathe it in. Yeah, I know you have emphysema and you're coughing, but yeah, get past that. No, just mix it. Something simple. Somebody's sick. Anybody can do it anywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're in America, any state, legal state, not state. You can get cannabis hopefully anywhere. And if you only have a little, this is what we know. And I challenge anybody to the point of defying you for a simple method. Find a simple method that you can get more out of your source material as a medical user. I've not found it. And I put the challenge out there because if you can tell me a better one, dude, I'll advocate it. I will. I just haven't found, for somebody that got their ounce, they got their pound for their sister in Kansas who can't get it in the convent or whatever, and you need to make something because, Sister Mary Ann can't be blowing dab hits down the hall. Put it in some coconut oil. She's set, and she can rub it on her heel. It's just such an all around. I don't care what somebody's sick with. If you're going to start someplace, it's the total best place. Now it's not a big marketable product. You're not going to sell gallons of it at the dispensary because the dispensary is really for people who are going down there to get high. But for the people you love, this is the exact stuff.
Well, it's the safest, most organic way to go about doing it. That's what it's about.
You can't screw it up. You can't mess it up. Nobody can get hurt.
And you're not going to blow yourself up either with it.
The last time you heard of a jet plane going down because the coconut oil was wet? Really?
So what do you think about all that, Ray, since we kind of took it over from you there, buddy?
Oh no, that's all good. I agree. There's definitely better delivery methods. It's and there's see, I'm still in a place where flour is cheap. It's not even with the government stepping on it, it'll still be cheap.
So what's cheap? What's a pound?
A pound? I get
In
into
real
my
money, not Canadian money.
yeah, exactly. It is Canadian money. That's the thing right there. You know, 70 bucks an ounce. That's the thing right there.
That's
In Canadian
funny.
money, it's 70 bucks an ounce.
What's a pound?
A pound? Oh, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200.
Well, hell,
Per
you
pound.
could make this coconut oil then at those prices. You'd have
Oh,
some
so you're looking at they're like $800 to $900 US,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
is yeah. So in Cali right now, because everyone's trying to dump all their shit before the regs next year, you can get weed as cheap as $350, $400 a pound.
Golly.
I've,
That's what I'm saying.
paid, I've paid more than that for an ounce.
And I don't want to take away from that real quick, but there was something that I came up. I thought about a question I wanted, since we were on that topic again about the oil. You can use this with every bit of the plant, right? You can decarboxylate all the fan leaves, sugar leaves, every bit of organic matter that comes off those stems. And that can be what you stuff that jar full of, and you get a great
putting your trim through. Yeah.
And the roots, but the sticks and the roots, really, it's beyond diminishing returns, honestly.
Yep.
But if you're making medicine, you really actually do want all of that plant in there. There are enzymes and things in the plant that help you digest stuff. If you want to get stoned, it's totally worth separating the THC if that's the experience that you're seeking. If you're trying to get healed, don't outthink that plant. It just happens to be smarter than you are. That's why we all love it in the first place. Don't overthink it. You know, for the sick people, keep it simple. It is in the body. It's not gonna. They don't have to react to funky, harsh chemicals. They actually just get to absorb the goodness that we're growing for them. And it to this day, and I can have anything. I mean, I get to make some pretty wild shit sometimes, and still, it's our favorite. It's what I rubbed on my woman when she was like, "Oh, sweetheart, my hip hurts so bad," you know, and I just rubbed it in her hip. I rubbed it, you know, around her buttocks and everything. And within 10 minutes, you know, your sweetheart saying thank you. That's fucking
I'm rubbing
cool.
some on my nipples as we speak.
That's just cool. I love this job.
So that's it, folks. This is some really great stuff. I mean,
use it as lube.
To revisit again.
Oh, that's the
Just
after
kidding.
show party. Yeah, that's
the after show.
Just kidding.
Well, don't worry, somebody will try it.
Oh no, it works just great.
Oh, this is a thing that's just catching on. I know a lot of people from that we know on this podcast that are doing this coconut oil, and they've already done it because, you know, once you decide to do it, it's a 10-day process.
Actually, yeah, Hogmaster, do you want to talk a little bit about your experiences? You were talking about that before the show.
Cool, yeah.
If you feel like sharing, if you don't want to, it's fine.
I cook eggs with it every morning.
That's hilarious. I got too stoned on it. I didn't know that.
Oh, do you want to? I don't know if you're up for. Do you want to show your thing or no?
Yeah, I can. The sous vide cooker.
Yeah. So why don't you go through that a little bit with people?
That was excellent. Yeah.
Good segue, brother Steve.
I'm heading that way.
Well, it's just kind of it's the opposite. So Tommy went over kind of how to do it with the Mason's jars, which is one way to do it, and he touched on the sous vide method, which I have both. For those of you guys that don't know, I have both methods on a YouTube video on my YouTube channel. So in case you're interested, you can check out both methods on there.
Sorry about the beep.
But Hogmaster actually had a really cool little explanation before the show. So
Yeah, here is the sous vide cooker I bought. I think I paid $79 for it. The temperature goes up to shit. Let's find out without turning it on.
and it'll do 4 days. We checked that out earlier before the show to do 4 days in
At
terms of timer.
212.9 degrees. That's the highest temperature you can set it at. And
So to boil water.
and you can set it down to 118 degrees.
See, that's cool. That's it right there, buddies. You can boil it, decarboxylate it for an hour, and then let it cool down, like Tommy said, 100%. And then you cook it for 5 days, or like overnight, and then you cook it for 5 days at 118. Set it on one of those. So how do you use that, David?
It's got a little knob here on the side.
No, I mean apply it to the whole cooking method, not.
Yeah. Can you go through walk us through that for those that don't know?
There's a coil in the bottom here, and it also has a little propeller.
Impeller
Impeller in this case.
Impeller.
Yeah, impeller, right. Yeah, so it circulates the water in the pot.
And you can pull the lever up here, and you can put it on a cooler, which is what I use, and I just cut the lid out so it'll shut right over it. And
so Tommy loves that. You use the cooler after all. So Tommy's going to love that because Tommy loves to use a cooler.
Yeah, it works great. And you can set it for 4 days, and you'll know in 4 days that you need to go down and set it for 24 more hours, and 24 hours you're set. I mean, I don't even have to touch it for 5 days. I don't have to add water, anything, because I got a decent cooler that will keep all the condensation just drips right back down into the cooler.
Now that's really cool to know because that was one of the biggest things in my head. I was trying to wrap my head around was how often you might have to replenish the water. So it's nice to know that you did not have to replenish the water.
Normally right at the 4 day mark, I'll go ahead and fill it up because it's getting within a ½ inch of the low level line on the sous vide cooker. So, I mean, it'll do a full 5 days, but it's something you definitely want to check every other day.
So does that hang on the side of the cooler, or is that fully submersible, or how does it work?
It hangs on the side of the cooler. It just.
I think that's what we were asking, if you could actually put it in and show us with the water.
Give us a demonstration at all.
Like actually put water in the cooler and run the machine.
Can we be a pain in the ass?
I'll be a pain in the ass.
If I got enough.
He's used to
definitely cooler for you.
Well, once in a while now, see, David's in a lot of pain and he medicates, so sometimes it takes him a minute to realize what we're asking him to do. I love it, though. This boy works hard.
So while we're waiting on him to, there we go.
There you go.
She slides right on the cooler.
How cool is that?
This is the one I have.
Now, does the lid close on that, or how does that work? Do you just close it most of the way?
I have this exact cooler outside, and I have it cut just right here.
Okay.
And it will shut perfectly right over the back of it.
So you just threw your coconut oil and your trim in there? Or how do you...
I'll fill it up with water, and I actually use the mason jar method.
Oh, okay. So this is for your decarb. I'm sorry, I missed
it. No, and it's also for the process.
And for cooking the oil.
So you just cook them all in the jars? Yep. No, that makes sense.
Cannot mess it up. It is.
Oh, you can't fuck it up then. Yeah, you can't fuck it up then. That's great.
Right. So you decarboxylate.
What a simple idea.
Yeah, you decarboxylate right there, and then you go through the methods, and then you cook it. You lower it down to 118. You keep it in the same place with the water, and you cook it for all those days at 118. I mean,
Yeah,
I
do
was
everything
just
in
thinking
one
of using a
container.
big.
You could do it faster chemically. You can do it faster. What you lose is the you lose the terpenes. If if you want to get everything, slow down.
Yep.
It'll happen. That's
And
the
you
whole
actually
concept.
witness that the terpenes make it taste better too, right?
And they have tremendous, tremendous medicinal effects. And unfortunately, many methods of extraction, some of which I use, sacrifice some of those terpenes.
So
Take your time.
Yes,
And
the
it will make
problem
you
is,
hospital high if you're not careful.
oh yeah,
so Hogmaster, we have a question from chat. I don't mean to cut you off, Tommy. We have a question from chat. It says, "What do you call that thing?" So, how would people find that exact object that you just showed us?
That object I actually bought on a TV network show called QVC, unfortunately, but it was $79 for people who have want to do payments. I think they do like 4 or 5 payments if you want to do that.
So if you're a hustler,
$20 a month. Yeah.
So if you're on a tight budget, you can buy it on QVC for $20 a month, or you can go on Amazon or eBay and and do your research and make sure you at least, what is it, David, 1,000 watt?
If you can't earn the rest of those payments after the first month with this thing, man, you done screwed up.
Right,
and
but
one of the best
you can
things,
buy one for $80 on Amazon and just pay for it, but you just have to make sure that you have the ability to program it from 118 degrees boiling, and that means you need 1,000 watt model minimum.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So okay, so 1,000 watt minimum, and it's what's it called, a sous vide cooker?
yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm just trying to make it simple for people that don't understand and aren't as experienced as this. So they need a sous vide cooker that's at the minimum 1,000 watts, correct?
And it's fancy Canadian French spelling.
And I think you can actually get 600 watt.
VIDE. Ooh. La, la, la.
Go ahead, David. We were talking about this a lot. So,
and the nice thing about it is you can cook your fish in it, you can cook your meat in it, and I use it for everything. I really do.
Not what I'm talking about, but all right. And so you actually can do that in a pot. You just take a big old spaghetti pot, and fill it up with water, and you can cook. There's all kinds of shit you can cook in there and make it really nice. That was funny.
If you're doing a smaller amount instead of like in a cooler like that, you don't really necessarily need a 600 watt as long as it will maintain the temperature that you're looking for and the size of container that you're wanting to do.
I think it's important to note that you want to make sure that it can boil the water, though, to make sure the decarboxylation. Otherwise, you'd have to do another method or buy something else. That's why.
I just want to interject physics-wise here, not to be a prick about it or anything, but you want an oversized heating coil.
That's 1,000 watts.
You never want your heating coil to work at maximum.
Right.
Ever. And so you have no idea the math. It goes up by the cube of how much longer it will last if you're never asking out of your machine what it's capable of. So that's a real thing. And then the other thing about having a larger heating coil is you're able to recover shock times faster. And not as much when we're cooking something for days with cannabis, but when you're doing different recipes with different meats, and you're putting a cold piece of meat into a cooler, your ability to get the whole thing up to temperature faster is actually very important to not getting botulism and things like that.
Absolutely.
And see, so what it means by having a larger, a higher wattage sous cooker, you have headroom.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to overwork it to get it. But the bottom line is you have to make sure so that you have one tool to do the whole thing is that it can boil water for an hour without stressing out. Because the 118 is not that hard to do, but be careful. Some sous do not go down to 118, and some sous you have to make sure you get one with enough power, and it goes from easily from 118 degrees to 220 degrees.
And honestly, anybody out there, I know we joked around if you can't get your money back on the piece of equipment, by the time the next payment's due.
Oh yeah.
This is totally 100%. Do not stretch it. This is a home piece of equipment. This is not a production piece of equipment. You cannot get money-making returns out of that piece of equipment, but you can make your whole family medicine no sweat out of that $100 piece of equipment.
And
it's not a commercial.
Someone is a young entrepreneur in a legal or less than legal area, what would their next step be for production?
At that point, you're literally having to get some real heaters out of the replacement elements that you use in hot water heaters.
Well, I was curious about the there's some larger commercial or not like small commercial scale slow cookers that I've had a lot of good luck with working with that we use in Colorado.
Yeah, the problem, the slow cookers in this instance, the problem with it is it does not maintain as tight a temperature control. You can easily drift 8 degrees easily, or worse, in those slow cookers. So it really is worth the $100 to get that tight temperature control, letting that thing sit there. That's what really is affording you the knowledge that you can't screw it up. You can't totally ruin it in a slow cooker. I think anybody will find that they'll enjoy their results more consistently with this sous vide kind of cooker or the oven method a little bit better. And the reason for the sous vide over the oven, it's less energy overall required to keep
for one
a certain
and
temperature.
it doesn't tie up your oven. Your old
Actually,
lady
much tighter control. You're controlling it. Definitely, if you get a suck-ass sous vide cooker, you're controlling it within 2 degrees. That's good enough for government work. Okay, that's good enough for Aunt Tilly. It's actually good enough for me for my personal medicine. When you're doing it production-wise, now you need to get serious, and you need to calculate loads, and it's a whole different ballgame.
So you're talking about those electronic water heaters, like similar to like what's it? True Aquaponics has something similar they use for their electronic water heaters for their bigger scale.
Right. You're starting. You have different safety concerns at this point. You have run dry concerns. You're looking at burning down a building if you fuck it up. So yeah, it leaves the kitchen at that point. Very quickly leaves the kitchen from that $100 unit. It's just not a commercial. I just want to be real clear with people. Get your medicine. Make sure your loved ones are getting what they need. Especially respect to you if you're in a state that it's really, really super hard. We want to make sure that you can, get medicine in people safely. Nobody's going to die. Nobody's going to blow up. And actually, one of the most efficient ways that I know of to do it. Just a little messy. It's a bunch of oil. Crawl off, deal with it.
That's right. Keep it on the personal homer tip.
Besides, those arteries aren't going to lubricate themselves with all that oil, I mean, you got to lubricate them.
It does not behave like a saturated fat in the body, even though it does outside the body. That's a whole nother little set up.
Well, I
So
know.
the
I'm
thing
just
is,
joking around.
so the sous vide, though, basically for everybody that needs to make their own medicine, it just makes everything so easy for you. And then you need the little blender. You need to have the little stick blender or make your own, like, more powered Tim the Toolman, Tommy J kind of, to hook up a generator to it, or something. But just get your little, like a milkshake, mixer, or how you make
Magic bullet.
mayonnaise.
Magic
Those
bullet.
blenders, like, it's just a Dremel motor is all it is. It's a
A
Dremel motor
magic
with a
bullet is an awesome thing for a home
there
marijuana.
you go. Magic bullet. That's it. Magic bullet. And then that you add your lesson at the end of it. So if you follow those directions with everything we told you tonight, you guys will have the most excellent medicine. And the sous vide makes it where it's almost foolproof. It's pretty much is foolproof unless you just don't come back and turn it back on. I mean, even then, I bet you'd get
You run out of water.
Yeah, I mean, but as David attested, he doesn't even run out of water with that device he's got. And so I don't know. Y'all know I'm rambling on. What do you got? Anything else, David, on that side of it?
No, it works great, man. I've enjoyed it ever since I bought it. I wish I would have bought it 20 years ago. They've been around for years.
Yeah, it just took people like Tommy to figure out how, wait a minute, we're missing out on something. We could try this and it works. And oh my God.
I respect my elders.
Yeah, me too, buddy. I love the
fact question. I go to my elders.
I tell you and your son have, been, I kind of miss having him on the show talking because he's always got some interesting things to say. But you guys have really pointed us in some directions that I tell you what, definitely making me feel good for the coming new year,
right
with all that. Well, hey, well, I don't know. Everybody's being quiet. Ray, you still there?
Oh yeah, I'm still here, just making sure you guys don't get all the background noise in the house.
You got any good outlaw stories you want to share with us before we, checking out all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, any stories you heard about your friend?
Yes, we're still live. We're still live.
Allegedly.
Allegedly
heard about your friend?
No. I tend to keep my mouth shut about that crap.
Okay. I thought I'd try to spice it up, but I definitely respect you. I just mess with you.
No, that's fine.
He's smarter than we are.
So what strains do you prefer to grow up there in the north?
Yeah.
Right now I've got 2 ILGM strains that I'm just sprouting, but I've got I got Purple Kush, which of course purple strains are always so much fun in the cold, right? So I got Purple Kush going, Crown Royal, White Widow, Blueberry, and what the hell else do I got going on? I got the Super Skunk and the Bubblegum, which just starting right now. But
you got your package.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. And of course I start them as a thread to try and help people on our forum to figure out how to sprout their plants right, of course. And it's no different. I mean, I'm playing with the grafting thing right now. So of course I pick one of my mothers, which I intend to call off anyways, because I don't particularly like the strain. But my goal is to turn one of my flowering plants right now, which is under a scrog screen and already trained, into my mother plant. And rather than having 6-7 different strains, have them all on one plant. It would save me so much work. It would tidy up my space.
Ray, I got a question for you on that. So, like, would you take a root ball, grow it for a long period of time, maybe like 6 months in veg, then run it through flower and bring it back into re-veg and grow it out, and then put your
Well,
craft
that's
on
what
it,
I'm
so you have a
that's what I'm
root,
intending to do.
solid root ball.
That's what I'm intending to do, is take a solid root system, which I know is a healthy root system because it's already made it all the way through flower.
Yeah.
And I'll trim the plant down to almost nothing, and I'll graft to it right away, and I'll revert it. I know I have a stable root system. Then I know.
So you graft to it before you revert it?
I'd revert it while I was grafting to it, because it's the plant's already going to be going under stress, but it's taking its cues from everything above it more than the root itself.
What are the hormones doing in the plant at that time?
Well, you could your best bet, at least I would imagine, would be to graft it during veg. But I could see redoing it during a re-veg would make sense too.
Yeah.
After the re-veg. After it's stabilized in re-veg, then introducing grafting, right?
Yeah,
I like that. I like that idea too. Having experimented with re-veg, because you got a big established root zone, and you can actually you take, if you're going to re-veg it and you're going to do that, I would say you take out the root zone and then trim it up a little, clean it up around the edges, and then repot it into some nice medium, and then let it re-root and then graft into it. Might be really interesting.
Oh, and it's a play project. This is something to learn off of. It's not worst case scenario, I lose a couple of cuttings. Not a big deal, right? I'm not sacrificing.
Sounds like an awesome project. I hope you keep it posted.
And I've been keeping everybody in touch on our forum without. I'm updating everything as I go, and of course, when you're doing a graft, it's a week or two before anything actually starts to heal and kick back in. But today, I seen the first signs that I'm actually getting a successful graft, because some of my growth is turning back up towards the light instead of all sagging down. So to me, that's a start. That's where you figure it out. And because I spend so much time training a plant to put a scrog screen on it, that's the ideal time to do it, rather than it would be nice just to go from.
Oh, so you're talking about flipping it when they go into flower, not when they go into veg? I thought you meant you took a plant, flipped it into flower, cut off the buds, then graft onto it.
Then re-veg it, yeah. And then
no. I'm harvesting the plant. I'm gonna try it right out to lunch and harvest the whole plant. Leave just enough foliage on it to keep it alive and revert it.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I'll graft to it with new grafts.
That's what I like. I like that too.
Because at that point it doesn't have any of the signals to do anything else anymore. It's already been harvested. It's a root system. I mean, people have been doing this for decades to grow all sorts of different plants.
Well, not only that, I'll give you the best example of it in terms of impressiveness. Look at the redwood trees. Anyone that's been out here to the redwoods, look at the fairy rings of the redwood trees. You have trees that were 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet across. They cut down the trees. The suckers from the old root system grew up, and now those suckers are now, the size of cars.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, they've been doing this for mangoes and for avocados for years. Same with tomatoes. So many tomato strains have terrible roots. They're more susceptible to blight and everything else. So now your heirloom tomatoes, there's people who graft tomato plants onto potatoes to have a healthy root system. And they get
ketchup and fries, yeah.
Yeah,
let's say you graft 5 strains onto a mother.
Okay, we're going to get into genetic drift, aren't we?
I don't know. This is fascinating stuff.
Okay.
I'm asking questions
now there is theories on the possibility of a genetic drift, but I'm never flowering out. So I'm not. The plant doesn't get the signal all the way through life from its roots. It only gets it while it's in veg. And in veg, all veg says is, let's go forward from here. Let's produce more leaves. It doesn't say let's produce this kind of bud, that kind of bud.
Then you clone off of that.
Then I clone. I take cuttings off of my main plant. And by separating each area of the plant or each main stem of the plant to one strain, I know everything I cut from there is a clone of that original strain. Now it's
Theory.
it's theory, but I mean there are people who've done it. I mean there is a YouTube video.
Awesome.
There is a YouTube video on the concept of it and on people who've done it, but nobody's actually pushed the envelope and went, "Hey, why don't we try it from a plant that already has a huge, well-established root system? It's always been during veg. We'll grow a plant specifically to do this, right?"
It sounds awesome.
So when I looked at it, I went, "Well, why don't I start a thread about it? See how much feedback I can get from other people on it. See if I can get other people interested in trying this too, because I'm just as willing to learn off of someone else as teach people. It's no different, right?"
Oh shit.
Now, I'd like to inject here. I got cut off by internet. I don't know what happened exactly, but so I might have missed something, and I hope I don't tread over what Ray was talking about, because we've talked about what he's doing. But I also would like to inject the idea that, I don't know if you talked about this again, but I also think you could take a fresh, really strong-rooted vegetated plant, as long as you keep it in the vegetative cycle, photo period, and you could say like top the terminal, bud off, and then you could do the same thing and graft into the stalk, because they do this with tomatoes. So basically, it's just about having a big root stock, and when they do it with tomatoes, the root stock's just an established seedling, basically, right? So it's not really a big, well-established plant. So I think the ideas, and now this isn't a new idea either, and Ray will admit this too. There's other people that have talked about grafting, but very seldom in my 13 years on forums, I think I've probably only seen people question or ask about grafting about 5 times. So when Ray says, I want to do a plant because of this limitation that I only can have 4 plants, and I want to graft 6 strains into it, I went, this is the coolest thing I've heard in a while, and I'm going to try it too. So, I challenge all of us here, to get you one plant, no matter whether it's new or something old and established, try it different ways so we get a little bit more data. And grafting, all you got to do is go and look at a grafting video on YouTube.
Correct, you're 100% correct. That is one of the baddest ass challenges I think you could take on in the marijuana space. Let's see a grafted plant, mother root, show what an animal, a chimera like that could actually do.
Well, and see, I'm trying several different grafting methods. I'm not sticking with traditional methods. I mean, I'm using a Mary stem method. I'm using several different methods all at the same time on one plant.
Right.
So the idea is I don't care, because the plant I'm playing with, I intended to kill anyway.
The team method. I used to
and even if it works,
the sacrificial lamb.
Even if it works, well, okay, now I've made all my mistakes on a plant that.
Ray's a mad scientist. I love him. Big hugs. Big kisses.
It's all about playing, buddy. It gets to a point where it's, hey, I want to try something different. Always is, and that's how are we ever going to learn anything new if we don't try new things?
The challenge is going to be to find out whether it's like a sativa or an indica might be the best root stock, or what strain provides the best root stock. In the end, if you keep messing around with it, so it's going to be fun. I see no reason not to try it, because if you've got, like, I personally, may or may not know of a place where there's 4 or 5 different strains, available for cloning and possibly, and doing some grafting. So, but the thing is which root stock do you go by? Well, hey, I'd like to hear Steve's take on this. Would you want the one with the biggest stalk at the bottom. I mean, that's what we think of, I think, with tomatoes and such. So,
And Roger,
Purely for rootstock, yeah, but I'm also gonna look for um, other traits as well. You know, bushiness and just overall vigor as well.
Okay, now
one thing,
okay, now here's the thing that I'm talking about genetic drift. When you talk about genetic drift basically means that what the rootstock is would be attributing to the plant that's growing off it. However, there's no founding in that. Basically, what it says is every single cutting you attach, every graft you attach, would be its own plant. So it wouldn't matter what the rootstock is, just that the rootstock itself is healthier than any of the combined plants.
Yeah.
and that's what they do with tomatoes. You take a weak, heirloom. You take a weak heirloom cultivar that is like the best tomatoes you ever had in your life, but you only get 12.
Yeah.
And then you attach it to like a beefsteak, crazy, hybrid rootstock. And they do it when they're, like I said, when they're fairly young, and then it grows up, and the rootstock does not affect what grows out of that rootstock is that heirloom tomato, and it's already proven. So I don't see how it'd be any different with cannabis, the miracle plant. Like tomatoes and cannabis, miracle plant.
Okay, here's the only difference that we come across, Roger, is that
There we go.
if you're talking about putting two plants on one rootstock, you're not talking about, this is where we differ, because if we were just using just the rootstock as a donor to grow one different plant, then it would be, hey, which is the best rootstock to grow this one different plant? However, we're talking about growing 4 or 5 different strains off of the one rootstock. So at that point, we're not dealing with the same animal, we're dealing with a different animal. If we started that early, we'd still have to graft different grafts to the other plant as we went.
Well, yes, but wouldn't it be the strongest base stock that you wanted to start with?
Well, you want the strongest base stock to start
that's
with.
what I said.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
meant.
but you wouldn't want to clip that strong base stock right at the hop and start another strain on it.
Oh, well, okay. Well, maybe clipping something wasn't the right way to go about what I said. I've just had another idea of a way to do it by by creating different areas of the plant. So that was my own thoughts. But you're saying
Who knows? Maybe that'll work. Maybe that'd work nice to have a plant that is different layers of different strains going up vertical. However, when I look at it, I always think of it as an LST type of thing where I'm growing horizontal across the plant. And that in this area of the plant, I look at it like I'm growing a scrog, and I've got a main line. I've got a main plant, and each main line is a different plant. Not looking at it as the main stock, and from there off as I get higher. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. That was something that you were saying earlier, and then we had Steve and other panelists asking questions about what you're thinking about. But we just teetered on the edge of that earlier. Actually, what you were talking about, like you do a scrog with a plant, and then you re-veg it, and then you'll have different arms of the plant spread out throughout the screen,
right.
And then you'll graft into different areas on different areas in your grow space on the screen, and those will be dedicated to each different strain.
Yes, you could do it that way, or you could do it that way, or you could mainline a plant right off the hop. I'm sure most people on this forum have an idea or on this site would have an idea of what mainlining is. Topping your plant right off the hop, training 2 different main colas, then topping a second time, defoliating, training another 2 colas off of each of those 2 colas, turning your plant basically into an octopus right off the hop. And you could do this from a veg state. There's no reason you couldn't graft from a veg state. But for my purposes, I'm going, it would take me too much time or too much space.
There's a lot of sugar you have to transfer down. That's a lot of cutting in, isn't there?
Yeah, there would be a lot of cutting in. And that's where it is nice to have the plant in veg. That's where it's really nice to have the plant in veg.
It'll work either way.
Yeah, it'll work either way. It'll work
either way. And like it's just like any way you want to scrog or monster crop, whatever you want to do to the plant, it's going to do it because cannabis is the greatest plant ever in the world.
It's going to grow in spite of us.
You can't screw it up no matter what you do almost.
In spite of us.
You have to really try. You have to dump a bunch of salt on it to kill it. I'm telling you.
Yeah. The worst case scenario, you lose one of the cuttings you put on it. And I mean, most people.
The graft doesn't take.
Yeah, the graft doesn't take, and then it's just a dead limb, like a dead leaf. You pull it off and cut a new one. But see, in my case,
I'm so glad you have some space to do that. That's awesome.
See, and that's my thing is, I go, okay, I'd like to be able to use the plant that I'm going to harvest for this, because then I don't have to spend 3 or 4 months training a plant to do this. When I can go, hey, I've got this perfect root system here. I know it's a good root system because I just flowered it out. I got healthy plants coming off it. Why not? Let's try it.
I don't see any reason why, like you said, with the re-veg process, and since you're doing grafting and the plant's alive, really it's not about re-vegging the plant itself. It's about keeping it alive and using this big stem system you've already got trained and tied into your scrog.
Yeah,
right.
And the only thing is, if I defoliated
you graft into it, it's alive. You don't even have to allow the rest of it to grow anymore. But see, I'm sad that Marty's gone, because I know he likes this kind of Frankenstein stuff. But and again, I'd like to hear from Steve more. But I think that's what people were missing at first, that you've got a spread out system already, and you just want to now add plants, and graft them in along the stem system, and re-vegging won't make any difference whether it's in veg.
Whether it's in veg or not. The only nice thing is, if I reverted to veg, I still have. Okay, so we're still talking about the plant still is uptaking nutrients and still directing nutrients up its stems and doing all of that. Now, if I completely defoliated that plant, it has no signal to do any of that. So gravity is just going to take place and pull all the water down.
I agree.
So to me, I have to leave. I leave a good chunk of my foliage, and I revert, and then I attach.
So what are your thoughts on schwazing then?
I think I discussed schwazing with Latewood a while back. I haven't tried it.
There you go. Good answer.
I've seen some interesting results, but to me, it scares the shit out of me. But then again, to be honest with you, so did super cropping the first time.
But swazing would have nothing, wouldn't help at all to swaze a plant in order to try to do this grafting method. I don't think. I mean, it's a.
No, I think the reason is we're alluding to swazing here is because it's the nutrient uptake, having the foliage to still bring up the nutrients.
Right. Well,
and when you're swazing, at least you still have the buds themselves still have all the sugar leaves to pull up the nutrients. The plant
I believe in having.
I've seen people schwaze even in veg. Like look at the guys from Threolite. They schwaze 3 times over the course of their plant growth.
Yeah, well, they do say anytime you stress a plant, its response is to grow. So, and it tends to be the case. Anytime you damage a plant, it grows stronger in those places. It either grows stronger or it dies, one or the other.
Well, when you start chopping off foliage, though, I personally, I'm still on the edge on this, because and again, when nobody's arguing one way is right or wrong.
You should definitely defoliate.
Well, not as much as swazing. I don't think you should. I'm not going to start swazing my plants.
Well, for example,
I don't see any scientific proof of my eyes watching grows where cutting all it does to me is stress and take yield away from the plant, because it's, to me, I can create a lot more yield without doing all that to my plant. And until I see different,
but here's a question. Do you strip all the fan leaves at the end of flower? Like the last week or two? No?
No.
Oh, oh, so I
I
do.
allow my family, like Donald's talking about. I allow my see. I believe that the fan leaves draw up and allow the photosynthesis to keep continue to happening on a healthy nature. And I wish my damn video shit hadn't messed up tonight because I was going to show you how well my method works and how beautiful and how the buds are just stacking up to be. I didn't cut all of it out, and I'm getting all kinds of extra because of just doing a few different simple things. So I'm still not all about, I don't believe in chopping up my plants. I'm doing more chopping of my plants now in order to experiment, in order to be having this conversation like we are right now. And even with super cropping,
Here's another
which I
question.
am
How often are you topping your
okay.
plant? How often are you topping?
I don't top my plants in general. These were
What?
clones. So these were clones. I don't know. I don't top. I hardly top my plants. I super crop different limbs as I see fit,
Crazy.
and then it creates a canopy in its own for buds.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. See, I top. I
y'all,
did.
I top.
I was
I
trying
top
to show
every
you.
3 to 5 days.
Yeah, well,
Every 3 days, preferably, and then I strip all my plants the last 10 days of their life. I just
I
strip
love-
all the fan
Yeah,
leaves.
I don't tend to strip because I like the fan leaves to encourage my plants to flush on their own. Because I'm
Well-
still using chemical newts, right?
Okay.
If I was growing organically or if I was growing aquaponically, I might not have to flush. But to me, I need those last weeks to flush. I usually spend 10 days to 2 weeks flushing and running RO water, but I need my plant to drink it to flush, to process just pure water to flush. I don't want it completely defoliated. And if I do defoliate, then I'm not bringing up enough liquids. That's just my take on it anyway.
I grew like that too. I like the fish thing better at this point.
Well, I don't have the space for it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I either have space to grow, and I'm growing in a less than legal place, and I am growing less than legal. So, to me, how I would have to keep my fish tanks indoor, which would take me about as much space as I choose to keep my plants in. So, it halves my space, and I mean, I'm all for experimentation. I run a I run a 3 light rotation, so to me,
you honestly need the cover of legality.
yes.
You really do. Because to do it right, to do it properly and respectfully to the environment,
Yeah.
We need to keep up with the political stuff. You really do need the cover of legality.
Well,
You got a good heart.
unfortunately, it ain't legal in my country yet. So,
Yeah.
so when I'm growing less than legal, I don't want to draw more attention by having double the water consumption. And in order to have fish, I have to keep them warm too. And I think I mentioned at the start that my lights are my only heat source to heat my grow space. Yes,
Yeah, the fish would actually give you less water consumption.
Well, they might give me less. They might give me less water consumption, but they still require that I heat their space too. And then I'm consuming more power on top of it.
There are different species. I'm not an expert on this. I just listen to somebody who has educated me about this.
Well, if you lived in Canada where it was colder than shit, then you would understand that he can't have fish and try to heat them up.
No, sure you can. What you do is, those hippie style water heaters, the water ones you put on the roof. You put them up and then you plumb your water through that on a closed loop recirculating with glycol. Obviously, it might not work for your particular situation, but I've grown in Colorado at -30 Fahrenheit all through the winter at 70 to 72 in the greenhouse during the day, so it was no problem.
And see, I'm playing along the illegal or the less than legal category. We'll put it that way. So for me, in order to do that, now I all of a sudden need to purchase fish, have another area specifically for the fish. As it sits right now, I don't grow in my house because I can play the gray zone. And the gray zone is really simple. If I grow in my house, the government has the right to classify my house as a grow house from that point on. So when I can't resell my home without saying that, yes, marijuana was grown in here. And if you say that when you go to sell your house, or when you, in Canada in particular, they go, okay, now there's mold issues, now there's this, now there's that. Now you have to have somebody come in and basically gut your house and say that it's never had mold or mildew issues, it's never had this, and it's never had that. And guess what? Regular houses have that shit anyway. And it's an automatic loss on my property value. So for me, I would have to build a whole separate area just for my fish, which I would have to keep warm separately. And yeah, I've looked at the whole concept of recirculating water heaters and using solar energy for that.
But you can't do that. You can't do that and then get shooed down because the city has a hard on for you. Yeah.
And then to do that, to do something like that, now I've doubled my space. Now I have to ask the city for permits. Now I have to have the city come in and inspect to say that, yes, you can do this. And it's no different. I mean, the only fish that would probably make the winters out here are trout. Trouts.
And let's not forget, our friend here is known, allegedly.
Yes.
So pressuring him to do something out of his comfort zone isn't very friendly on our part.
I'm exploring. I love his thinking. There's like aspects of this I've never considered that he's opened me up to, and so I'm just teasing him out for different ideas. What he thinks.
Oh no, and I have no problem with the whole concept of growing organically. I've debated going organic, and my thing has always been the less yield. And see, my entire grow space runs at 1,000 watts. My entire grow space. I have a 16 by 10 space that is right now outside in minus 20 Celsius and sitting at 1,000 watts, heating itself.
Dude,
heating itself. And this is this manages four separate areas. I mean, I have a mother space, I have 2 flowering spaces, and 1 main veg space. And
like totally sealed, insulated.
Totally sealed, insulated.
Yeah.
The whole 9 yards.
Just spread 1,000 watts over that, yeah.
And I recirculate my exhaust to reheat the area, and it all goes into an exit chamber.
How many square feet again?
It's 16 by 160 square feet. What? So, and then in that 160 square feet, roughly a third of it is open floor space for work area, and the rest is all behind cabinets and behind doors.
120, right?
Yeah, maybe 120 or 100 square feet.
Yeah, so he's got 3 or 4 different dedicated spaces that are all heated, so it all kind of just works out as a place with heat.
Well, what it does is my exhaust pulls off of all 4 of my grow spaces.
Right,
and the exhaust recirculate
in there too.
I recycled. No, I haven't gone to that point. I have a dog that lives in there. That's my CO2 generator.
No, that's brilliant. We grew meat. We were brewing meat under the veg table. No, that's brilliant, sir.
Yeah.
It's excellent, actually. I love it.
And the whole system is designed to recycle heat. So every bit of heat that all my lights produce.
And you got all the dog farts. That's heat too.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, of course my dog doesn't get right beside my plants, but yeah, she has a runway in there where she's allowed to go into. And it's no different. All my ballasts, I recycle the heat off my ballasts, everything else. And during the
You are Canadian, aren't you?
Oh, during this. Hey. Yeah, well, if they don't find you handsome, they got to at least find you handy, right?
No, it's crazy.
Nice.
But no, it's different how I have, and that's it. I mean, I spent since last year. I started off in my basement, and I went, okay, not out of my basement. I don't. sure as shit, as soon as I have my basement grow set up, I got a notice in the mail, hey, your insurance company wants to inspect your house. Yeah. And so as soon as that comes, oh yeah, well, it'll be just my luck. These guys are going to come crawl in my basement and see my grow area down here, which I was using, running on 1,200 watts, but running more wattage than I am running now. Then I got moved everything from there into an old barn building that I had in the yard, which was falling apart. More than a few minus 14, 15 Fahrenheit days. And I have my plants growing in 50 degrees Fahrenheit. They still managed to grow. From there, I went from using I was running 400 watts at that point in time. I went to light emitting ceramics, or ceramic metal halides, and I've loved them ever since. I built the shed specifically for growing. It's 8-inch thick walls, double insulated, R36 in the ceiling, sided, the whole 9 yards.
So you're halfway between breeding acres and ice road truckers, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I've just found, I'll share that I was just recently experimenting with using my metal halides and all, and I've got excellent results from them, but I felt the yield was suffering a lot. And so on this grow, I still started out with them, and I still felt like I was not getting the production and the hybrid activity that I'd like to see. And I switched out last week to my high pressure sodium, and those some bitches went ape shit. And that's why I so much wanted to share a couple pictures with you guys tonight. Technical difficulties ruined that for me, but I definitely feel like you need some of that red spectrum in your at least mid-flower. Once you get the mid-flower, once you got the flower set going and you got it's all tight because of the metal halide, you zap, at least what I'm getting now, and I've been doing a really I have a benchmark situation going on where I have been doing the same thing over and over and over with different variables where I can recognize what's going on. So I still understand why you're doing what you're doing, and I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying, as another thing for you growers out there, I just want to throw an alternative idea that once getting it such a tight set. But go ahead, you wanted to say something, I heard.
Oh no, you and I were discussing that a while ago, and what I'd suggested was that if you ran the HPS during the first part, and then your metal halide during the last, after your 5 weeks, once your buds are set, you'd still get that compact growth, and you'd bring out more terpenes just because of the fact that you're hitting them with more UV as opposed to light intensity or lumen lux. But yeah, I could totally see that because I get extremely dense plants. They don't stretch all that much off my LECs,
right.
But they don't yield the same as when I was growing with HPS. They don't. But it's also a 300 watt light as opposed to a 600 or a 400.
I think there's a different taste.
There is. There's a. It's
and what do you think about the way the plant goes through all the fall colors instead of just yellowing out?
It doesn't, and that's the fun part about it, is they actually go through all the colors. And the neatest thing I'd mentioned, I've noticed with the LECs, is my plant will stay green. If I don't defoliate underneath my canopy, my plant will still stay green under the canopy. Yeah. It's bizarre how green the plants will stay and how healthy they'll stay all the way through. And for me, to get the fall colors is no problem at all. I just speed up the fan a little bit. And I've got cold air anytime I want it.
Yeah, I only ever really grew like 3 strains in my main line all the time I grew. And so I got to know them pretty well. And it was very, very enlightening to put them under the LECs, because I saw those plants do something I had not seen them do in the previous 4 years.
Yes. They're way different.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
and yeah, it's the same thing. You can't expect a big yield increase because you're not upping the watts and you're not upping the lights. All you're doing is upping the UV and upping the. You get a different yield. Your density is different.
I think it's worth a different dollar. Personally.
Yeah.
Personally. Yeah.
Alrighty, well, it's getting a little late. Geez, you guys want to wrap the show up here?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, brother, we can. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we was going through it there. That was. I'm good. I'm good. I thought we had a very nice conversation tonight. Touched again on the
awesome guest. Wow,
Yeah.
I'm so excited to have been here.
No, that was great. I definitely haven't had a guest talk about that yet. That was really cool.
Yeah,
especially with the grafting. What a neat idea.
It was an honor to get invited, guys.
I thought of it.
I was shocked to get the call tonight, but Roger and I had discussed it in the past, and there's still lots of my history I won't get into, but
Fair enough.
There's lots of. It's always cool to get different people on because we get different ideas.
Yeah.
And exposed to like I said, new ideas.
And like I was saying, that's the whole idea of us communicating, period. So many years growing was in the dark, and unless you knew each other personally, you didn't share secrets, you didn't talk growing tips. Yeah. So this is just it's an amazing way to think about growing nowadays.
Yep.
So we're gonna go through where everybody's what we're doing, because we're only a couple of us left. But we go off air in a minute, Ray. So you can hang out till we go off air. I
was gonna say we're not gonna be too long. What are you been up to, Roger? And then tell people how they find you when you're done, so that we'll cover two birds, one stone.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you right now. I run. I'm the administrator for ILoveGrowingMarijuana.com, one of the premier cannabis forums, the most friendly and knowledgeable. You can come there and have an interesting and nice time and share knowledge or get help without being ridiculed. And we got great genetics and some great other products. We got some really nice nutrients and organic nutrients and powder nutrients. But what I'm doing is I'm getting very close to having something I dreamed up 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, and with all my friends here knowing that they'll, the information highway is open. I'm back diligently working on my telecommunications network for the cannabis industry internationally. I'm gonna set up a hub for all of us to come together, where we won't necessarily have to use those other big conglomerate websites in order to get together and have the kind of communication we have here on Growing with Fishes podcast. I'd like to see a bigger community grow out of this, and I'm building it. I'm a blind old man, but I'm trying to figure out how to. I've actually dedicated myself as much as hard as it's going to be. I'm gonna get back into coding. I'm gonna learn API. Even though I can hire somebody, I want to finish building my website and communication network myself. So I'm basically putting myself through college every day right now online, learning every in and out about that. And I've got the proper tools, so we're going to do it. And I thank myself, not myself, but all the guys on the staff at ILGM for being able to hang in there and take care of things. And it allows me to market the website and market our future, and to build this kind of thing, and to be part of this podcast every week is amazing. And I'm somewhat of a depressed, soul. So it's nice to get out and talk with like-minded individuals with somewhat I consider fairly intelligent. Actually, very intelligent, in case anybody didn't comprehend that, because they're too intelligent to understand humor, But Well, I love y'all. So I'll give it away. And there you go. You asked me to start. There, I'm done. I'll try to be done.
What about you, Tommy?
Hey, I'm back down in Southern California. Gonna hang with the family for the holidays here. That's pretty exciting. Um, California for the holidays is like every once in a while you'll see a suburban with reindeer antlers on it and a big red nose. Otherwise, you wouldn't actually know it's the holidays down here. There's no snow.
And the chicks with the reindeer boobs.
Well, reindeer, I have noticed those, but who wouldn't? Um, so yeah, just kind of been hanging out here. Really excited. Get back, spend some time with my sweetheart. We're gonna spend some Christmas time together. That's pretty exciting. Really enjoying the different communities I'm in. Family communities, growing communities here. I'm involved in business community stuff, and I just find myself at this time of holiday season going like, oh, it's pretty awesome, rather than being all involved in all the major shopping stuff and all that kind of stuff. I find this time of year is much better spent with people like I spent it here, and really glad to have been here today. And oh, my YouTube channel, if you absolutely must, is Old Fart Grows. I've not been keeping up with it, but it's there.
Here's an old part.
I'm here if you need me.
All right. And you guys can check us both out over at puritymedicinals.com. If anyone has any questions, you can always email me at potentponics@gmail.com. You can check my YouTube channel out at potentponics. One of these days I'll get around to putting more content up there other than the podcast. Lately I've been so damn busy with work, with licensing and paperwork and
Humans.
and traveling and just fucking everything really related to getting a new company off the ground. So I haven't had time to scratch my own ass better yet make some of the videos that I have lined up and scripted. So we'll get to that soon. Anyways, it's getting a little late. I want to get out of here. So I'll let you guys go, and we'll see you guys again next week. Thanks to everyone for joining us, and take care.
Good night.
Peace out. Love everybody.
Oh, we'll mention Fish Ganja Guy was with us a little bit earlier. He's Fish Ganja Guy on YouTube. And Marty was also with us. He's AP Meds on YouTube as well.
Brain Grow was with us earlier.
Oh, yes, and Brain Grow, BRAYNE_GRO.
And we want to thank Donald J. from I Love Growing Marijuana, and a member of Canada native, to come out here and explain all of his techniques and ideas tonight. And he was a great guest and very well spoken, I must say.
Yep. Thanks a lot. All right, we'll catch you guys next week. Oh, and have a good Christmas. Just occurred to me that this is the last episode for Christmas. So if you celebrate Christmas, have a good Christmas. Cheers.